Nigeria is one of the largest geographically, socially, and culturally diversified African country. It is the most populous country in Africa and potentially one of the richest. The country is richly endowed with human and natural resources. The ethnic diversity of the Nigerian society is reflected in the fact that it has over 250 identified ethnic groups. The rights and various attempts of the people of Nigeria to develop their culture have been supported by the government and have been given consideration in the Nigerian constitution. Some of the clearly set directions of cultural policies are analysis and understanding of the Nigerian cultural life, cultural values and cultural needs and expectations of the people, affirmation of the authentic cultural values and cultural heritage, building up of a national cultural identity and parallel affirmation of cultural identities of different ethnic groups, and establishment of links between culture and education, as well as between education and different cultural industries, particularly using the mass media as a fourth estate of the realm. Today, we will be exploring policies on culture, the importance of cultural preservation and promotion on national development. Welcome, and thank you for joining us to discuss Nigeria's policy on culture. I am Lydia Odije Ochi. Stay with us. Before we go on, let's take our news update. Don't go away. The killings in Plateau State with unidentified gunmen overrunning about 23 local communities in Bokos and Barkin-Ladi local government areas, leaving a death toll that authorities estimated to be over 200, with more than 10,000 displaced, exposed to the grave vulnerability of the Nigerian state and questioned her security apparatus. Ideally, the Plateau State incident was a wake-up call to ramp up intelligence and operational efficiency by security agencies. At least 30 people were killed and several others injured around Mangu town in Plateau State in January. Soldiers and gunmen clashed in two villages of Mangu town, leaving at least 30 dead. This is after the governor, Caleb Muftwang, imposed a curfew in the area. In a recent development, Bokos local government area of the state came under intense attack by armed militia, with reports of people losing their lives. Almost 4 villages were razed down, including Ba, Magi, Fashak, Wang, Tarango, and Gudel. 2 of the communities were burnt down in Mba and Meiduna in Dafo.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
Culture is the backbone of any nation. It defines our identity, strengthens our national unity, showcases our rich heritage to the world, represents the collective memory, wisdom, and values of our people. By actively preserving and promoting our cultural identity, we strengthen our national unity and foster a sense of belonging among our citizens. Indeed, our cultural diversity is our greatest strength. Our policy must focus on inclusiveness and equal representation, ensuring that the voices and traditions of all ethnic groups are acknowledged and celebrated. Proper policy initiatives are therefore essential to preserve and promote our cultural diversity. What are these policies and strategies on our culture? We have an expert in this field to provide answers and give recommendations on the way forward. To discuss on this topic, national policy on culture, we have a seasoned professional. Let me introduce you to Professor Sunday NSC Ododo, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian National Theatre. He is a professor of performance aesthetics, practice, and theatre technology. He's also a creative economist, screenwriter, playwright, and a poet. He boasts of a prolific career spanning 3 decades. And recently, he was awarded Who's Who Africa Award by Time Magazine Africa. There's so much to know about him, but for want of time, let me stop here. Thank you for joining us, Prof. We're grateful to have you, despite your busy schedule. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now let us start off.
It's an honor.
Oh, we're honored to have you. What is the purpose of Nigeria's policy on culture?
Culture, as you know, is all about human existence. Culture is life, and it's in culture that the totality of human existence is encapsulated. The Nigerian cultural policy is envisioned to strengthen understanding, create a national consciousness, advance the appreciation of arts and culture, and enhance Nigeria's identity worldwide. The policy is also oriented towards popularizing communication and information technology in the context of community participation in development, economic empowerment, and the promotion of national harmony. That is precisely the focus of the national policy on culture in Nigeria.
Thank you, Prof. Now let's move on. How does Nigeria's policy on culture aim to preserve and promote cultural diversity?
With more than 200 million people in Nigeria, as you know, Nigeria is the most populous African country with the largest democracy. We also have more than 300 ethnic groups, over 500 languages. All of these have their own history, literature, values, human nuances, and languages. Now, how can all of this come together as one cohesive force? The policy then comes up with a number of strategies to ensure that diversity is promoted. Diversity, in essence, cultural diversity in essence, is for every cultural unit to know about the other, appreciate and accept it. That way, there will be tolerance and less conflict. It's our inability to understand each other's cultural ways, values, and meaning that creates conflict. Indeed, Every culture has good things to offer. It is assembling together all those good things in each cultural unit that makes cultural diversity a potent force in national development. Every country who has a multiplicity of cultures and ethnic groups is supposed to be blessed, because there are a number of positives to count on for national advancement. So, in Nigerian cultural policy, this is a tool that is enshrined and must be promoted to ensure that irrespective of our religious views or cultural norms, traditions, we can make progress together as one people.
Thank you, Prof. Now, what measures are in place for the promotion of indigenous languages in Nigeria's cultural policy?
By indigenous languages, we mean those languages that are innate to the people. First language, as you may want to say, a language is what sustains a nation, a people. You lose your language, you lose identity. It's to this extent the cultural policy of Nigeria ensures that our language, indigenous ones, are well protected, preserved, and advanced. To make this possible, there are proposals, there are strategies to ensure that Nigerian languages are learned in school. Curricula of our school system are encouraged to have in them the teaching and learning of indigenous languages. We also encourage to carry out research and documentation on non-Nigerian languages and a dialect to ascertain the exact number and situations of the languages. Also, in the career policy, there's provision to promote Nigerian languages at various levels of the educational system in consonance with the Millennium Development Goals. Of course, we also encourage in the utilization of Pidgin English as a means of popular communication to enhance national integration. Of course, you know that apart from the Queen's English, Pidgin English is the next most popular language that cuts across ethnic divides. And if you cannot speak the Queen English, you should be able to flow in Pidgin English. And that is why career policy is recognizing it, so that because communication is key to human interaction and emotions. When people speak in a language you don't understand, first thing come to your mind that maybe you are being abused, you are being insulted. So Pidgin is key. And of course, there's provision to support and promote Nigerian writers in the production and publication of books, newspapers, and academic journals in Nigerian languages. And of course, the policy in principle to use Nigerian languages for government or official transactions. Encourage research works to identify and document endangered Nigerian languages through visual, literary, and performing arts. The minority, their languages might not come to the forefront. In Nigeria today, it's common to refer to the three major Nigerian languages, which is the ethnic groups, the Hausa Fulani, the Igbo, and Yoruba. Whereas there are over 200 others that are there. We hardly talk about them. But they must be protected. If you don't protect these languages, they go into extinction. And when they go extinct, the people also perish. That is the meaning. A language that survives is in use almost all the time. That is why the cultural policy of Nigeria encourages us to identify some of these minority languages and come up with a spare direct plan to ensure their survival. And in tertiary institutions and research centers, they have been encouraged now to develop dictionaries, technical and scientific documents in Nigerian languages. Because with these documents, it's very easy that a non-speaker of a particular language can go to that dictionary and find out the meaning of certain words, sentences, and get understanding. This is much that is unique about the Nigerian cultural policy as far as language is concerned. And I think this is very robust and all-inclusive.
Thank you so much. Now, are there any plans or measures to expand or improve cultural festivals and events as a way of preserving and protecting indigenous cultural identity in our country?
Yeah, the plans are always there. They're always there. But as you know, just like constitutions that guide the governance of a nation, cultural policy that also guides our cultural life and way of life, everything cannot be written. Of course, you know about written constitution and written constitution. So, but the fundamentals of what can make this thrive are enshrined in the cultural policy. Every culture has its own worldview, leading to the existence of that culture. And culture is people-based. And every group of people have their stories of existence. These stories of existence come with all manner of adventures and relationship with the environment and the supreme being, which in many religious view is referred to as God. When people meet challenges, they go through certain processes to seek the intervention of the Almighty. In traditional parlance, we start from performing a rite, and constitution of sets of rites becomes a ritual. And a ritual is performed as a supplication, a desire for positive results. When that result is gotten and is positive, the next thing is to go into celebration, thanking the Almighty for answered prayers. That is where festival comes in. So every festival in any cultural setting is a celebration of answered prayers, a celebration of survivor, a celebration of triumph. In Nigeria, we have the New Yam Festival. The New Yam Festival is a celebration of conquest of hunger. That this new year, there's also a new, the yam germinated and sprouted and germinated, and is harvested. Because if there is drought, you won't have harvest. So that's just an example of how festivals are instituted, come to be, and celebrated. In festivals, we find a whole lot about our people's culture. Festival is a potent coordinate of all aspects of our people's way of life. Because during the festival, children, men and women, everyone come together. During this festival, the arts and entertainment forms of the people are pulled together to celebrate the festival. To that extent, from generation to generation, the norms and ways of life of a people are passed from one generation to another. It's during this festival that you get to know about how drums are made and how drummings are interpreted. Costumes of various kinds will come to play. Hunters, farmers welcome there. It is also during these festivals that some marriages, knots are tied. So there's a whole lot in festival. What's the point here? The point is that you try waiting for government to make pronouncement. All indigenous entity in the country themselves are driving social cohesion through festivities and festival. But as a government and through the cultural policy, we are encouraged to ensure that key festivals in Nigeria from one locality to the other are celebrated. Indeed, there are certain festivals instituted by governments across MDS to showcase Nigerian culture, in which participants are drawn from different cultural zones. You know about NIPSS, which Nigerian Cultural National Culture of Arts and Culture, National Council for Arts and Culture, coordinates. This NIPSS brings all the cultural councils in Nigeria together to send participants from each state. In the National Theatre, we started 4 years back the National Theatre Festival of Unity. This festival is also to bring Nigerians together and promote cultural values of unifying the nation. You also know about the Abuja Carnival. There is Carnival Calabar.
Yes.
Which is also all forms of coordinated attempts, deliberate attempts to ensure that festivals exist and to promote cultural programs, identity of our multicultural nations. So the cultural policy was robust as far as the festival is concerned.
Okay, now let's talk about promoting or ensuring that cultural education is integrated into our national curriculum. Are there any initiatives on ground towards achieving that?
Of these things, you can be there can be firm legislation on them, as it were. But the signposts of how to get this done are already spelled out. As I told you, these are to be taken through, curriculum, the curriculum in schools, so that children get to learn about them. That's one measure. And I tell you, at the primary school level, this is being observed. The kind of the languages that will be taught in this manner is just what is indigenous to each area. So it's not that one particular indigenous language is not nationwide, but the most popular one are still those of those of Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba.
Sure.
That what I can express myself. What's important is communication, because the whole concept of human organization, transaction, thrives on language and ability to communicate with one another.
That's right.
So once you can achieve that, then education has taken place.
Are there any measures in place to involve the traditional institution in the promotion of culture and cultural heritage?
Yes. The traditional rulers are a popular symbol of tradition, culture, custom, and their preservation. And as such, they are instrumental in ensuring growth and development in their communities through a well-structured system of communication. In the First Republic, traditional rulers were even constitutionally recognized and they are given functional roles. But today, it's not expressly so in the Nigerian Constitution.
Okay.
At the government level, are conscious of this, and they have a number of organs and platforms that they involve traditional rulers from the top up to the ward level. It has been observed that if traditional rulers are well involved in governance, the issue of insecurity will be a thing of the past, because every locality with very little population, people will know one another. When a stranger steps into that community, everybody will know.
That's
And
true.
begin to ask questions. We hope some legislative involvement of traditional rulers in governance may be promulgated.
How does Nigeria's policy on culture address the gap between tradition and modernization?
Yes, as you know, modernity is an economic force, while tradition is fundamentally cultural and social. What the role of tradition is a pertinent point here. Tradition is basically a series of attitudes, languages, music, art, scholarship, and so on, which have been developed over time. And modernity is introducing technology to fast track how we get some of these series of activities to achieve a result. You know, if you want to cook beans, for instance, you go through series of processes to achieve it. Today, we have what is called pressure pot. You put the beans and all the ingredients there, you cover it off. Under 10 minutes, it is done.
Yes.
That's just a basic illustration of what exists between modernity and tradition. In as much as our cultural policy does not kick against modernity, because modernity is also a hallmark of civilization, our cultural policy encourages us to be abreast to our tradition, values, and norms, because it's in them that the quality of human endeavor is emphasized. Value for hard work is entrenched. You know, if you even look at it critically, people born in the 60s up to 80s, their value system is based on industry, and we value whatever result we get.
That's right.
Today, but unfortunately, the answer is the orientation. How do I actually get this done? And now our children are looking at society and believing that to earn good living, you don't have to go to, you should go and do one money ritual and become rich, unfortunately. So modernity has its gains, but it cannot replace tradition.
Definitely.
In fact, it's tradition that fits more modern way of getting things done.
Okay, let me ask you my final question. My last question now. What policies and recommendations would you suggest to the government and the ministry in charge of culture to achieve long-term goals on our culture?
The Nigerian government is very, very perceptive and proactive, you know, to ensure that the cultural space thrives well. You will recall that for a long time, we've not had a standalone ministry on culture. So the government of President Tinubu created the Ministry of Art, Culture, and the Creative Economy. This is a recommendation that people in the creative sector, in the cultural sector, have pushed forward in a long while, and now the prayer has been answered. So there's so much going on now to reposition the sector. One major recommendation I would want to make is in the area of language, because language defines a people, language defines a nation, and it's important government looks into coming up with a program which is referred to as SILR, supporting indigenous language realization. This concept envisions a future where indigenous languages are healthy and vibrant and spoken in homes, schools, workplaces, and on the land. If this is achieved, there will be peace because everybody will understand each other. Nobody will be suspicious of one another. Communication in workplace will become more conducive and tolerant. And of course, assignment to be carried out will be well understood. And we have an environment that is healthy and friendly.
Thank you so much, Professor Sunday Enesi Ododo, Chief Executive Officer, Nigeria National Theatre. We really appreciate your time with us, despite your busy schedule. Professor Sunday Enesi Ododo, outgoing Chief Executive Officer, Nigeria National Theatre. Thank you for your time on the program. We really appreciate.
Thank you very much.
It's new, it's fresh, it's all about policies and strategies. Watch out for NIPSS Policy TV programs on NTA News 24. Tune in on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on DSTV Channel 419, GoTV Channel 26, Star Times Channels 101 and 433, and Free TV Channel 703. Miss this and miss out on policies that will affect you and our country. Join us.
We have a very diverse culture, a very large area to cover. Unlike other nations of the world where you will find very few ethnic groups that can be easily managed. But in Nigeria, we are more. And I feel that there is always a common ground. There's a place where we can meet. One of the challenges we struggle a lot at this point, looking at culture as it were, is that we're gradually moving into a stage of what I call mixed culture. Currently, we can boast of having pure cultural heritage in Nigeria. Most of the things we practice are borrowed. So you have the real culture you have, but there are a lot of things that are being, I don't have more of the time to see now, but I feel a lot of the things we practice today in the name of culture are being informed by certain things, and which is gradually fading away or keeping aside our own personal heritage, and in other words, diluting it with others. So I feel there's a lot of work for this agency to do in order to be able to foster that unity among us. Nigeria has beautiful cultures. We have wonderful heritage that can help us work together. In as much that we are really diverse in different ways, but I feel that there is that sense of belonging that if each of us can come, like having the rainbow, having different colors, we can add beauty to this country we call Nigeria. So I'm calling on this agency to do a lot. We need to take, there are a lot of ethnic groups like you have mentioned, I felt that is not known. What do we do that can be able to bring these people to the limelight such that they would also feel as part of this nation? For example, when you talk about governance, as we were talking earlier, there are people that you never hear their names when it comes to governance. Does that mean they're not Nigerians? They are. If I will call my tribe now, a lot of you will know that. Many will say, we don't know that tribe.
National Orientation Agency has a role to play to seeing that this culture are preserved. Because from what we're seeing, the culture are going to extinct. But they need to give proper orientation to people. They need to go to villages. I know when we used to small, national orientation move around with the public address system to give orientation to people, to sensitize people about a lot of things. But nowadays you don't see them again. They don't even on television. You don't hear about National Orientation Agency. They don't sensitize people, educate people about anything. So I think it's proper that they do this kind of work. They have to do a lot to see that our culture, our languages, tribes are preserved by introducing some of these ideas to the government, so that even in our institutions, schools, let's say secondary schools, or beginning from primary school, they should introduce some of these languages so that we can be able to preserve. If not, these languages are going to extinct. If you see children now, speak language to them, they don't understand. Speak your own tribe to them, they don't understand all these things. So national orientation need to sit up and do better and do more so that these cultures and languages will be preserved. Nowadays, our traditional rulers, they are more of politicians. They care less about all these preservations. They don't care if people know about their cultures again. That's why you see some of them, when they passed away, those cultures are gone. Can't be able to recall some of these things that are happening, that was done in the past. So I would suggest that our traditional rulers should do more, to be able to call their kingsmen and see how they're going to preserve our cultural heritage so that it will not go to extinct. Keep watching.
Keep watching. Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
Whatever is mine can never pass me. Do what you are supposed to do to push forward.
Alumni Chat is a very special person. First of all, she's a woman, a beautiful, hardworking one at that. She's someone we all admire here at the National Institute. I'm talking about Professor Funmi Paramalam, the Director of Studies. Thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
And we appreciate that you found time, despite your busy schedule, to have this interview with us. Thank you so much. Now, Professor, tell us, what was your experience when we were here at the Institute as a participant?
Wow, that's a long time ago. So I was a participant on SEC 35, 2013, 10 years ago precisely. It was a very enriching experience. I came out of that experience thinking that, wow, it was so intense. And probably almost more intense than my PhD, because that spanned over, 3 years. It was a very, very intensive course. It was rewarding, but stretching. It helped in so many ways to expose me to a deeper knowledge about the nation, the issues, critical issues of national import, but also to network with a whole variety of colleagues and friends and acquaintances across different, divides.
How has the experience imparted in your life as a person and in your career?
Being an MNI has its own perks, and one of them is that it opens opportunities for you in terms of being considered even for appointments. So I believe that even this particular office that I hold, being an MNI stood me in good stead, or in better stead, to be considered for the role. And then, like I was talking earlier about the network of colleagues and acquaintances that you come across, that helps you to be able to tap into a huge human resource. And even as Director of Studies, I have been able to reach out and tap into that resource, bring in some of the alumni here to deliver lectures, to participate in seminars. Just recently, we had the Distinguished Alumni Lecture Series, and this year's was delivered by Engineer Mohammed Gambo, MNI. And it was just, he came here for a visit just to call on us, and listening to him, I realized that what he had done, what he was doing, aligned with our theme for the year. So I said, oh, you should be our Distinguished Alumni Lecturer this year. And that's, how that happened. So, being able to tap into that network of people has been very helpful. And then, the standard to which we are held, the motto of ANI is towards a better society. So I believe that's always at the back of one's mind, that as a member of the National Institute, you are constantly supposed to be working, wherever you are placed, towards a better society. My philosophy in life is do your best. Whatever your hands find to do it with all your heart. Do it to the best of your ability. Not because somebody is watching, not because there's somebody is going to pat you on the back or give you a reward, but because you are working for a higher purpose.
What would be your reaction about the narrative that the alumni is an elitist group?
There's nothing wrong with being elitist. An elite has their purpose in society. Very often, change and transformation are driven by the elite. It is only when the elite do not understand that their position is a sacred trust that that it becomes a problem. If the elite are alive to their responsibility, that being an elite is only an opportunity to serve, only an opportunity to raise up the rest of humanity. Every position is only an opportunity, and God will ask us what we have done with it. So if people are saying that Annie is elitist, to me it's not a bad label to be elitist, except if elitist now becomes exclusive, discriminatory, and unconcerned about the rest. Then when it is that, then it's a problem.
How impactful has the association been to the Institute?
Okay, in terms of the impact of Annie on the National Institute, well, I would say it's a mixed bag, in the sense that there has been some impact in terms of Annie recognizing that NIPSS is the alma mater, and coming back to have the AGM and the annual general meetings, and now that the Director General of the National Institute, when he came in 2022, he instituted the Distinguished Alumni Lecture Series, and that has been a really good platform for getting people to come and give back to their alma mater. And we've had some of in fact quite a number of our alumni coming back to give lectures. Some even at their own expense coming to meet with participants. We had that especially year before last, and last year. That really helps. And I would also say showing an interest in the National Institute, what's happening there, wanting to make sure that the standards are still being kept high. Annie is very committed to ensuring that NIPSS doesn't derail from its mandate, so that's good. But I said it's a mixed bag because the impact could be much more if, for example, when people are in session, when they're on course, they always have what we call legacy projects. And these are very nice legacy projects. For example, Sec 45 is building a training center for the Directorate of Studies. We also have, last year, Sec 44 built a primary school, and year before then, Sec 43 built a whole set of offices for directing staff. So we've had some very, very groundbreaking projects, legacy projects. But then when they're gone, they're gone. And so sometimes not looking back to keep tabs on those projects, how are they faring, is there any scaling up, is there any, whatever that needs to be done, just to even show an interest. Like you have endowments abroad where alumni come and they are constantly trying to see how they can feed back into the alma mater to improve through these endowments. And so I think we need an alumni endowment, or the alumni participate in the NIPSS endowment much more closely. I think that would be really, really useful. And I also think that the senior executive course participants could benefit a whole lot more from mentoring from people who have passed out, of the course. So maybe we need to set up a better system, for that to happen. But we have the alumni platform now that was established. Professor Adeyanju, MNI, is also in charge of that. And I think that's going to be a veritable platform for further cementing the relationship between the alumni and the National Institute.
Now, Professor, what were the circumstances that led to you becoming the Director of Studies?
Well, I think that is something for my memoirs. But I could maybe hint at one or two things. Before now, we didn't really have a situation where a long-standing staff had risen through the ranks to become a management staff. And for a while, there had been that agitation that NIPSS should be a place where people can come and grow to the highest, position.
Thank you, Professor Fumi Paramalam, for finding time to talk with us. It's really been an interesting chat. Thank you so much. We're grateful for sharing your insight and your thoughts with us. Thank you indeed.
Thank you for having me. And I wish you the best with this Policy TV. I'm so happy for this initiative that the DG has brought on board. It's an idea whose time has come.
And that's our chat today. We hope you had a nice time watching that. The program continues. Don't go away. Stay with us.
It's new, it's fresh. It's all about policies and strategies. Watch out for NIPSS Policy TV programs on NTA News 24. Tune in on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 26, Star Times channels 101 and 433, and Free TV channel 703. Miss this and miss out on policies that will affect you and our country. Join us.
Keep watching. Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
It is in the bid to ensure that each cultural entity is preserved, projected, and promoted. That Nigeria has a cultural policy, our ethnic groups possess unique traditions, languages, and artistic expressions. Preserving them is not only a matter of pride and identity, but also a means to foster a deeper national understanding and appreciation. That concludes our package today. We appreciate your time with us. Hope you join us next time. I am Lydia Ojidiochi. Goodbye.